era where everyone is working from home, and you are an expert in that field. From home for almost 20 years or more about 20 years. In addition, you run a company called Distant Jobs, and you just wrote a book called Surviving Remote Work. I think you are the perfect guest for this abnormal time. Sharon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alain. Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So I just want to point out, I think there is a mistake on your books in Amazon. It says 99 cents. I'm sure that's mistake. I'm sure you meant to say $99, isn't it?
No, for a temporary time, it's still 99 cents. Not for much longer, but the digital copies tend to be a little more affordable. But if you want the physical book, of course, you pay a little extra, but you get a nice physical book.
Sharon, give me 1 second. I just got a UPS package. Just 1 second, okay?
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem. You got it. Yes.
Yeah, things that happens when you work from home. Sorry about that.
No worries. We're starting from the beginning.
Uh, no, I will edit that out.
No problem. Go ahead.
Okay, so your book is right now 99 cents, and then of course that's the price to entice people, and then later on it's gonna be a regular price.
Yes, absolutely. But as we say, the digital is always going to be very affordable.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you have a long history of working remotely. I just wanted to pick your brain. First of all, when you were going to school, was this the plan that you had in your head? I'm going to work from home. I'm going to just run my empire from my basement, or do you have other plans?
Look, I had a plan to run a technology company. It was very focused and everything, and really, the original reason why I got into this is because there are arbitrage opportunity that in India people were working literally for a tenth of North American salaries, and I said, okay, I got to try, and I started a web hosting company doing so. But also, my dad, as for years, has been running an entire engineering firm from home, literally designing the entire machine and sending it to machine shop to make those machines. So I had the exposure from young age to what remote experience before I knew what remote was.
Right. Okay. And then, what was your first business?
My first business was I was trying to make a file sharing business website, but that did not work very well. My first real business was a web hosting and outsourcing company called Empire Host. We had about 3,000 clients at the time, and we were providing a mom and pop shop solutions back then.
Okay, so from that sure first business, you were already arbitraging salaries. I mean, hiring people from other countries, and is that how did it work?
Yeah, we had two offices in India, one in Hyderabad, one in Pune, and and we were hiring there, and it was literally I at that time, although there was a lot of consequences to it, at that time I literally could hire people for 100, 200, $300 a month to real engineers to do a job. But things have changed since then.
Okay, so this is what scared a lot of people, and maybe this is where you come in. How a dude from Montreal decides to go to all the way to India to open two office. I mean, people are just terrified of this unknown. Many people don't even have a passport. They just don't get out of their little island.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was motivated by money. If you're afraid of opportunity, this is a big look. The stats. I don't know how precise the stats are, but the stats say that one out of 10 people succeeds in business. Um, I feel at least half of those are people are not taking it seriously, or people are too afraid. There's no luxury to be afraid. You find an opportunity, you gotta jump on it.
Right. Okay. So it's the fear part that in my podcast sometimes I try to face and try to help people overcome it because Yeah, what you say is right, but it's still, I think that fear is the biggest barrier for people to not only get into business but also live their dreams. So many people want to have a life bigger than the one that they are living right now, and they are so afraid to make that first move, that first even searching in Google. That in itself, because then they may be presented with opportunities and then they have to make a choice.
Fear is a huge deal. I'm not again. I've never experienced that fear. I've never seen an alternative in my life. I've always wanted to be a businessman. To be fair, I had an infrastructure. I had a father that saw felt that I should do nothing but be a businessman. So he was willing to. I didn't come from a rich house or anything of that sort, but my dad ran a small company, and he believed that that's the way it goes. So I had the backing. But yes, fear is with no doubt not the biggest obstacle. It's the pre-obstacle. It's the obstacle before you even get to the real obstacles. Because if you can't even fathom, if you don't feel like business is something that you want to do with all your heart and all your mind, because it requires a lot of effort, you're already set to fail before you even took that risk.
Right. Okay. So in your case, you had your father. You were able to look at his example, but many of us don't have that. Do you suggest any uh, any other motivations in order to get over our fears?
Yes, hang out with the right people. Go to go to networking events. Uh, you know, I read I read it like 20 years ago. The millionaire's mindset that just that removes the flake of this fear. Some people are feeling guilty of making money. Some people think that business people are evil. All those misconceptions have to get rid. But yes, hang out in networking event, make new friends that are also motivated by it. I think that's the key. But when I was a kid, people would use that stupid phrase. It's not what you know, it's who you know. The who you know part is something that you can figure out also.
Right.
you
Right.
that's it.
And then nowadays there is such a things as podcasting. I mean, I listen to smart, intelligent people all day long. There's YouTube. I mean, you can watch cat videos, or you could watch a motivational speech by, I don't know, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, even dead people. Even dead people can come, hold your hand, and motivate you. You could get books to continually motivate you and guide you through the process of, yeah, this is expanding your mind and said, okay, these kind of things are possible. Like right now, finding out about you and to know that you can leverage the working capacity of everyone in the world. This is a huge tool, because you could say, oh, I would like to start, I don't know, a developing business, but I don't know anyone in my neighborhood. Well, go to Sharon and he will hook you up with some kind of amazing developer all the way in Croatia.
Amen. And just to test it on top of it, I really do feel that if you don't, the infrastructure, the support system that you have, which thank God I'm privileged to say that I had in my life, is the most important aspect. More than podcasts, more than books. If you don't have a support system, find don't get rid of your old friends, but find new friends, find a new team, join a business group, do something that that an environment that people are supporting each other and backing each other all the time is probably the best way to get yourself pumped about business.
Yeah, I just want to. You just said don't get off, don't get rid of your old friends. Sometimes that's necessary. I mean, my old friends in Colombia, they used to smoke weed all the time and drink and get drunk, and I decided to say, okay, maybe this is not the best. Kind of group for me if I want to be to improve my life. So yeah, sorry, I did. I don't mean to.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm very careful about that. My old school buddies are so crucial for me, right? Not all of them are on any wavelength that I am, but they're still my buddies. But again, I have the support system. My brother's a successful businessman. My dad is a businessman that came from day one, try to do things himself. So I I do have the support that I need for that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you started this company, and I so what happened with that company?
What happened with the company? Well, I started the original web hosting company that I mentioned, Empire Host. We sold it to Ostopia about 12 years ago or something. But it reflected on it taught me so much about the way you go about working with international people, and I found the outsourcing model to be somewhat weak because when you give me if you're a real estate agent and you need a web design, outsourcing is your solution. But when you're a technology company and you want to take advantage of the massive pool of talent across the world, the incredible value, the arbitrage, which is less and less, but still in my opinion, the quality of people way surpasses the the value these days because you open yourself to the world, and the world has much better people than one specific region. But the idea of outsourcing it to another shop, which doesn't work by your culture, doesn't work by your processes, for me, it's almost like a business sin. So you want to get people that fully integrate into your company. You want people that are career driven, that are focused, that don't look left and right, not looking for the next opportunity. And this is what we decided to do with Distant Job. We decided no more taking on project. We're focused on just finding the best and the smartest people that work full time, that are career driven, and this made a big success for us.
Okay, and you have been doing that from your main cave, right?
I've been doing it from my man cave. So I actually at this moment have two man caves, right? Because I moved to a new house where I have a great room with a fireplace, and and I really turned it even more. Right now I'm sitting in my office, which is wonderful. It's quiet in it's a closed room in a co-working space. But I got excited about my home because I bought myself a stand-up table, and I'm buying myself a walking treadmill, and I have a virtual reality goggles at home. So suddenly, my two screens and desktop and few tchotchkes here are not as exciting anymore as what I did at home.
Wow. Okay, but so you seem to be very excited about this, and you seem to, I mean, you have your family to give you that emotional support, but a lot of people are struggling right now. I mean, this environment of working from home, for some people, that was their biggest source of social life, and now they are being separated from that. Do you have any tips on how we can adapt to work from home?
This is actually the fundamentally the biggest difference from moving from an office to a remote environment is the mental health, is the social, is missing a little bit of the culture. But here's the great thing is you're saving a lot of time, you're saving a lot of money by staying home. You're actually more productive with your time. And this is all research is done on this. Suddenly you have more time on your hands. The only thing that you need to think about is being proactive with your social experience. I get these questions all the time. I used to go for lunch with my for my lunch with my friends. I used to go for happy hours. There was an entire social experience, and I'm like saying, what stops you from doing this? You just need to be proactive with that, which means you need to treat your social experience like it is business. It's the same way that you wake up in the morning and you book your meetings and you check your calendar, right? You need to book your social experience. So it requires a little more proactivity. Now in COVID, it is a little more challenging. I hear you, but you can't go for lunch. You can go for a walk and grab a snack and hang out on a bench. There is still solutions, and this is temporary. But even for now, there are solutions. You go, you get out of the house, you meet your friend somewhere, the same person you had lunch, meet him on a bench. pick up a lunch, and it is really not such a bad experience. But you got to get out of the house. This is what happens. People stay at home and they forget because they used to have the social. There used to be a buddy in the office that tells them, "Hey, let's go for lunch. Hey, let's go for happy hour." Now you need to be a little more proactive. That's the only
Okay,
difference.
yeah, that's right. And I've been working from home for a few years, and I don't have weekdays nor weekends. I just have, it's very random, but I do give priority to social life, and I have these pockets of time that I just to get out of my head and just share with other people.
You got to do it. You got to do it. This is actually surprisingly one of the biggest advice where it comes to remote is not how you can be productive in remote. It's easy to be productive when you're remote. It's not easy to take care of your mental health specifically. This is where you need to focus because that will damage your productivity in the long run.
Okay, so I have a question. I'm sure you have been asked this question many times, but one of the greatest criticism for the kind of work that you do, which is to find distant work all over the globe, is that of course some people are saying, but you're taking jobs away from the U.S. or Canadian economy to give it to someone in Bangladesh. So how will you respond to that?
Well, people that say that have been th- this are the this is the type of mentality that created discrimination and racism throughout the years, right? I don't always want to bring Holocaust into the discussion, but that's exactly what they were talking about the Jews back then. They were saying if we're going to kill the Jews, there's going to be less people taking our jobs, right? What they're not thinking about that people that I don't want to specifically talk about the Jews, but the more jobs, the more businesses, there are more people contributing to the economy, the more consumers there are there. There are more jobs that are there. You're not the the proof is in the pudding. First of all, the unemployment rate since the outsourcing era started in the 90s has never increased until there was a bank fiasco or COVID or the dot com bubble. Nothing to do with outsourcing. The employment never went up. Why? Because when you give jobs to, let's say, people in India and Bangladesh, I have a lot of experience with India specifically because when I traveled there in the early 2000s, what I've noticed was like Nike and Pizza Hut and McDonald's. And when I was talking to my colleagues there, they say that did not exist 10 years ago. So really what's happening is when you give more jobs to people, you're giving more consumer power, which again goes back to jobs in North America. The only thing actually that would not give an opportunity to the reason why people would lose the jobs is because if somebody's really great and is enjoying the remote job and you're not going to give a remote job, they will work for a British company. And that's how you're going to lose the jobs. There is no loss of job in outsourcing, offshoring, remote work, whatever terms you want to call it.
Right. Okay. So I have some questions in regards to the city environment. So if everyone is working remotely, there is no need to live in expensive city like Vancouver, like New York, like Los Angeles. I mean, you could be in your farm in Oregon paying one fifth of the rent price and still get paid the same amount of money that you were getting paid before. And now also, since everyone is working from their own environment, you don't need as a corporation you don't need to pay for this huge amount of leases and real estates and huge buildings. So I wonder what's going to happen to our city environment. Do you I mean can you look into your crystal ball and see what how how is this going to play out? Because for real you don't need to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for an office building when somebody else can do the same work in their little cabin in Oregon.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. First of all, not remote doesn't necessarily mean working from home. And and remote means working in the most optimal work environment. For example, my man cave, as you call it, is in a co-working space 2 blocks away from my house. It's almost like an extra room in my house because it's so accessible. My projection for the long run is that the cities would be focused on the social experience. You you make a decision. Look, I've been working remote for 20 years, yet I still choose to live in the city. Right? Living in the city was actually a key component for my productivity because I would back then I would have an office a little far away because I needed to be in the office and I needed a little break to listen to audio books and everything. So I my work was half an hour away, but the fact that I lived in the city, even if I would come back at 9 o'clock, and I used to be a much bigger workaholic back then. Even I questioned my productivity back then, but um, when I lived in the city, I was able to going and having a drink was not a big event. I don't know if you ever lived in the suburbs. You say from Colombia, but I lived in West Island for a long time in the suburbs, 20 minutes, half an hour away. And the decision to go out to the city was an event, was a job, was a production. And the idea of living in a cool, fun place is still a big thing. But if you're a person who loves the country, what a win-win situation for everyone. So
Right.
my projection for the future, the cities will be all about social experience.
Right.
It's not going to be about offices anymore. No, but because why the reason why offices are in the city is because they want to create that you're in the city and you experience. But the more and more we're going to go remote, the city will be entertainment centers and residential areas surrounding those entertainment centers, not surrounding work anymore.
Right. But okay, but those who cannot afford to live in a place like San Francisco or Vancouver or Toronto, which the rent and the mortgages are huge, they just don't have to anymore. If they
They
cannot
don't have
afford to
to.
live in San Francisco, they can live, I don't know, in a farm an hour away.
You know, I I believe that I believe it's unavoidable. But for now, companies are still fighting it. Even the companies that are claiming to be remote friendly, they want their person to visit once a day. They want so it's still not there, right? It's still that we have a big up battle ahead of us to really have fully remote working environments out there. But yes, this is the future, and people will choose their place based on their comfort and based on their values. And the investment in more expensive places will only strictly be based on your entertainment and social experience, not based on your work. This is definitely my hope, my hope for the future. There's no
Yes.
question about it.
Another trend that I see, and I like your opinion on this, is that most immigration to the US or Canada or any of these industrialized countries is economical immigration. Sure, there are some people who are being oppressed by the government, this and that, but someone coming, I don't know, from Panama to the US, they are basically looking for a better job. But when you can provide a better job to that person in Panama or in Singapore or even wherever they are, then they don't have to go to all this immigration process and being uprooted from their hometown in order to earn a better living. You can say, hey, you in Croatia, I can offer you a programming job. So you can stay in your farm there and do this, I don't know, this coding for me.
Uprooting is the key word here. I This is for me one of my biggest motivation in this entire remote revolution. Right, I just blown away by how many times I've seen companies where the boss decide, I want to move from Ohio to Las Vegas. Here are 500 people with me. I It blows my mind. It just blows my mind. And those companies are awarded some of the best culture and culture experience. No, they're fucking assholes. Sorry, am I allowed to talk like that? I know, but this is not. proper healthy culture. This is uprooting people where their parents and their schools are taking kids from schools. It's like the worst. There's nothing worse than that. And just so, and of course, there's a huge benefit like to improve and build other economies. You improve, and when you improve the economies, you're making countries more improve their human rights. You make them improve democracy. There is huge benefit for improving everything. And again, they will end up consuming the products that
Right.
you're so afraid of losing in your own country.
Okay, so now uh, you have your hands busy. You are doing all this remote working, networking, employers with employees. And how do you get it together to write a book? And it's a funny book. I like your tone. You make me laugh every other page. So
I
yeah.
I I tried to make it as funny as possible. I actually was inspired by the book called The Goal, which was not a funny book, but it's a very success. It's a book that is written and taught in MBA all over. But the guy wrote an entire business book in a fictional story. So you're reading a novel, and the novel is literally teaching you all the business lessons. And I said, it's like, you know, all those business books are so serious, and and why not just chill? Why not just make comedy? Why not be casual? Why not have a conversation like you have a beer with somebody on the other side and you tell them a story? I don't understand why everybody in politics, in business, because my next book is going to be in politics, a political book, right? Why are everybody so serious? And that's how I change. How do I have time? I have time because I have a great team. I have a great team. I've done a great job delegating it to people. It involve accepting a lot of mistakes and letting people learn through their mistakes that you have learned yourself already. And if you're the micromanager type of boss, you will not accept, how dare we did this again. But you have to go through all these mistakes again with each individual, and then you get yourself a bunch of warriors. And when you have warriors, you can sit down and write a book.
And the craft of writing, I mean, you learned this, you were talented already like that, or you learned this over time?
I have never ever, ever thought that I will be an author. Now I'm obsessed. Now I'm addicted. Now I'm ready. This is just the beginning. I I believe in the 10,000 hour rule. And by the way, it took 5 years for me just barely to put in a blog and small writing one after the other and after the other, and suddenly just one day about a year and a half ago, I actually started the political book before I started the business book, but I stopped in the middle because I thought COVID is the right time for this. But somehow happened that I started writing, and suddenly I did not stop. I believe that everything is a muscle. Everything. The entire Malcolm Gladwell philosophy of 10,000 hours, I'm a huge believer in that, but you don't need to get to 10,000 hours. You need to get to your first 100 hours to get the process rolling. And something flipped about a year and a half ago that just words start flowing on paper.
Okay, so can you give a small summary of what could, a reader could expect to find in the book?
Well, so the book itself is dealing not is dealing with remote work as the manager of a remote team and as a remote work. I think both topics are hugely beneficial for each other because this COVID time is the opportunity for remote workers to to become stars, especially the introverts. This is the time of the introverts, right? And it gives you an opportunity. So I believe that even if I wrote it for remote works and remote workers and remote managers together, they both should read the other sections because it's usually beneficial for them to understand the other side and hopefully to become successful on the other side. So what you're going to learn about how to create an incredible culture, how to deal with mental health, how to start to do the proper transitions, what technologies you need to use. You're going to learn a little bit about the politics of remote and offshore and international workers, and of course, you're going to learn how to be the most optimal, the most motivated, and the most impressive to your bosses type of remote employees out there.
Right. Okay. So this year, the people who graduated from university just woke up and they said, now what? You know, all the regular channels of getting a job and finding employments, they are disrupted. And now people are saying, what do I do now? How do I find a job? What would you say to a person who graduated not too long ago, a few months ago, and now is just looking at this upside down world? What would be the best field for them to go into, and yeah, how could they get a job? How could they get into with a middleman like you to help them find a job?
So for the middleman like me, I'm not going to be able to help them too much, right? My clients are asking me for the best of the best, right? This is a unfortunate reality. We don't get too much requests for juniors. When you come out of university, you need to create a skill. You need to specialize in that skill, and you need to reflect what value could I generate for the companies, for the people that I work with. As quickly as possible, you need to get a specialty, study it, learn it. Of course, the tech industry is in most demand for people, but in any other industry, you can go and you figure out what value you can generate for your employer or for your client, not what you're good at. And this mentality will lead you to be very successful as a remote person.
Okay, so if you cannot help them because you work with the best of the best, where would they go to get that initial experience?
They need to go on LinkedIn
Okay.
and they need to apply for as much as possible. And in the meantime, study a specific skill, right? So the conversation that you have on LinkedIn should be, hey, Mr. This and that and this, I'm able to do this and that for you in order for you to generate something incredible. This is the type of language that you should be thinking about when you're applying for a job. And most of your time in university or even during your university, you should study this thing that generate value.
Wow. Wow. You know, my only hesitation is at the same time, there is a culture of entitlement, a culture of that I got this piece of paper here. Where are the job offers coming to me? And, so what you're proposing is I have to be proactive and say, hey, I can help you with this. And here's the mentality of the kid who say, I pay $100,000 for this piece of paper. I want some offers on my table right now.
Well, first of all, that piece of entitlement, even as crazy as it is, it most certainly doesn't work in remote. The remote experience is a very, when somebody, and maybe things will change. Maybe in 20 years, maybe in 10 years, everybody is going to be cool with remote and we're moving to remote. For now, the bosses feel that they're giving you the best benefit. And you need to explain why is it that you deserve that remote job. And this is a very, very proactive kind of action. Nobody, no piece of paper. I mean, piece of paper will give you a job. In normal world, a regular physical job. If you're in the business of just be a 9 to 5er, hey, that's cool. And you can even be a successful 9 to 5er. And quite frankly, I promote even we use that word 9 to 5er, but I'm a big believer that you should be a 9 to 5er even if you're not a 9 to 5er, because you should, because a brain cannot produce more than 8 hours anyways, right? But I use the 9 to 5er as as an expression because it's been used a lot forever as that mentality of just going to work and everything. Hey, there, there's there's nothing after COVID. I feel everything's gonna get back to normal. We're going to have a little recession. It's going to be a little tough for a little bit, but after that, it's okay. When you're thinking about remote, now you're playing a very different ball league, and you really need to explain yourself much better.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, Sharon. Sharon, I don't have questions for you. Can you tell us one more time the name of your book and also the company? We mentioned it one or twice, but yes, where can people follow you in general?
Well, first of all, so the book "Surviving Remote Work" it's on Amazon. Pick it up. There's the digital, which is very affordable. By the time this interview is going to be published, it's probably not going to be 99 cents anymore, but it's still going to be a small amount of money. And there's the soft cover, which is available, and soon we're going to get on Audible and hardcover. Right, I am working on my on the Audible very soon. You can hit us up at my company, Distant Job. We have an incredible blog with all bunch of information. Some people have complimented our blog as one of the best blogs related to remote work and remote management. And of course, if you need remote work or you need remote workers, we are your people. Please. We are very, very good at going to the world and finding some of the best and the smartest people out there. So definitely hit us up if you need it.
Sharon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ellen.